Qudsiya Mole is a young woman doing big things. As a Durban girl, her love for the sea is intrinsic to her life. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this week's An Nur the Light. We got to ride some waves and learn more about this woman of the seas. Durban's beachfront is famously known as the home beach for some of the best surf athletes in the world. Surf culture is popular amongst men, however, it is still a very niche sport for women, particularly Muslim women.
It began when my mom owned a restaurant on North Beach, and after school every day I would come, home from school and watch people surfing. And of course the surfers used to come to my mom's restaurant to buy food after the surf, and I'd get to interact with them and ask them a lot of questions, and they just seemed like the happiest people in the world. And I was like, oh my God, they're having so much fun. And I feel like I'm being deprived from that. Why? So the only thing I needed was a board, my parents' permission, and some guts. But my mom was like totally against it. My dad, however, was totally game for it. And he was like, you're gonna go surfing, I'm gonna get you a board, and I'll even go with you. So some of the comments I've had is, you can't do it, it's haram, without evidence to support that, of course. You won't find a husband. And the cause of how we met is actually because he saw me surfing.
Despite criticism, Qudsiya endeavoured to challenge perceptions about Muslim women. She has been recognized in the media as someone breaking boundaries whilst observing her hijab and remaining true to her Islam.
Some people will see something as a strength in you and actually admire that and find it something rare and good. Other people will see it as a barrier, an impediment, and something negative. So it depends on you and what you want to attract into your life and the type of person you want to be because of that.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بعضكم من بعض فالذين هاجروا وأخرجوا من ديارهم.
I went backpacking to London when I was 19, and I stayed in London for a total of 7 years. I then moved to Saudi Arabia to study Islamic studies and Arabic in Princess Noor University, where I graduated with Hadith Sciences and Quran. And there I remained for 7 years before getting a divorce and returning back to South Africa and bringing all of my skills here, as well as being the inspiration for many women to live theirs as well.
I met Qudsiya the first time online a couple years ago when she wrote her book. I do promotion. I help experts and authors promote themselves online. This summer, I saw the interview that she had done on another network, and it looked like it was interesting. She was taking Muslim girls surfing. She was showing things that a lot of people don't perceive Muslim women as being able to do, going out on surfing and safaris and all of these things. And then at that point I said, this is, an interesting person, and I could probably help promote her business, help her get more customers, help, get her word out, get the message out. I think it's amazing. And not only, for Muslim girls to see that they don't have to be, restricted by what other people expect of them, that there are guidelines within the Quran and within the Sunnah, and if they follow that, then they're fine, and they can follow those and they can express themselves. There certainly are parameters that you have to stay within, but it's not so much as people, might think it is, or like it might be made out to be by propaganda.
Qudsiya now runs an adventure company called Nomadic Spirit. She takes women on trips and adventures around Durban. The focus is on male-dominated sports such as stand-up paddleboarding and surfing, and her Saturday surf lessons have become a hit with young women of all backgrounds.
Nomadic Spirit is an adventure company which I started after my divorce. It was a plea for myself to relive my childhood dreams, to bring them out of the chest that was long since buried under the sand, and to be the strength for other women who also had dreams like mine but weren't strong enough to go and seek them out and achieve them. We have people from as young as 4 come out with us up to 80-year-olds doing SUPing. You don't need to be the strongest swimmer, and you don't need to be in the best of shape. So it really is for everyone.
I don't do a lot of sports, so it was nice to actually enjoy something. It was like a calm thing for me, so I really liked it. I thought it would be nice because, I love the water. I love to swim. I just thought it would be nice and exciting and, thrilling, She is really motivating and she's always positive about everything. And I feel like the coaches as well were really like patient with how we were failing and they were just helping us each and every time.
For Qudsiya, surfing isn't just a hobby. It is a means for her to connect with her creator and truly appreciate his creation.
The surfing helps me connect spiritually with Allah. It helps me get closer to Him through communing with creation. Once I'm in connection with what Allah has created, and the sea is quite a powerful force of nature, so once you're in it, you really feel the strength of what Allah has created and the force. It really tests every part of you. And that's what I love about it, because it's a huge avenue for growth and gives you potential to really, dive into. Next for me is, of course, the fashion line. I also hope to continue with Nomadic Spirit and empower and give more women inspiration, as well as dispelling myths about Muslim women, that we're oppressed and that we cannot do certain things and that the religion confines us and suppresses our spirits. And, of course, Nomadic Spirit just crushes all of those myths.
As Qudsiya continues to counter stereotypes and break boundaries, it is her love for Islam that will continue to shine brightly for young Muslim women around the world. Modest fashion continues to sweep the world, and our South African hijabis can definitely hold their own on a global stage. Let's take a look at this week's Street Style.
Modest way, I think it's just about being comfortable. It's about expressing yourself with fashion. It's about covering up, but also being who you are. My photography is mostly about landscapes. It's fashion. It's about everything that I enjoy seeing or places I love going to. It's about food. I often do weddings as well. So the kind of posts I share or the images I share on Instagram, I like to focus on the lifestyle within Cape Town. I love the ocean, so a lot of ocean pics coming in, and animals. My personal style, I would say it's very fun and experimental. I often try to go with the trend, but for modest way, I try to give that special twist to it. So if it's off-the-shoulder tops, I would try to style it differently, also kind of sticking to the off-the-shoulder trend. So I put on a very colorful, bold printed throw over to add a bit of pop of color. I love pop of color. And I just styled it up with denim. So denim on denim is never a bad idea at all. Style is important to me because it's a means of expressing who I am without saying too much. It shares a bit of my personality to someone I've just met along the road or something like that. Yeah. Faith is very important to me. It keeps me grounded. Just by dressing, by covering up, wearing my scarf every day, it's a reminder of me always having to do my best. It's a reminder of being nicer to people. It's a reminder that I am a Muslim. And so my style usually represents all of that, but because I'm still young, sticking to the trends.
Our mosques are the center of our communities, but sadly, some of these fall into neglect. We got to learn about the preservation efforts of these mosques in PE. The Eastern Cape is home to the second oldest Muslim community in South Africa. They arrived here during the Xhosa Wars between 1779 and 1879 and later on during the landing of the 1820 settlers. Port Elizabeth was becoming a bustling port city as more and more people came in search of opportunities. From here, they moved inland where the first mosque is found in Uitenhage.
If you look at the history of Port Elizabeth, for example, not long after the 1820 settlers, the next group of people is the Muslims. And where do they all originate from? From Cape Town. But from Cape Town, back to Indonesia. We only discover that once you go closer into the cemetery, you will find that these headstones, although written in the Arabic language, not even in Dutch, not in Afrikaans, but pure Indonesian Bahasa. We battled over the years, nobody could assist us in translating this. And finally, they sent out an ustad from Indonesia, Usman Shihab, and he came to Port Elizabeth and started translating these headstones. And Alhamdulillah, by 2014, there was a book launch translating all the headstones we could possibly find at the present moment. The now generation of Muslim in Port Elizabeth and Utrecht can trace their generations back to the headstones in those qabristan.
One of the best ways to remember an identity as well as a presence is through history. The resources for doing this, however, was not always easy to come by until a group of people made it their duty to do this. Yusuf Ahudin became instrumental in setting up a museum as a first step to preserving the history.
And we thought, wouldn't it be a good idea to start an Islamic library? Not for the Muslim community, but for everybody else to come and learn and find out what is Islam about. And we open the doors to schools in the vicinity, the people that lives around here to come and visit and have a look and see what. And then a year after that, we thought, why don't we take a step further? And then we started collecting items. We done the renovations ourselves, and people contributed their heritage for a next generation. At the museum, you can see really how our forefathers lived. And strangely enough, some of the kitabs here is written in Indonesian Bahasa that goes back plus minus 150 years. Terima kasih bayang that we heard all the years and we didn't know where it came from. It's Indonesian Bahasa. Kanala, kaparangs, those are the words, maningal, that we use. And in the museum, we have little tombstones that was donated to us from the community that we can show our heritage. And these is what the heritage we want to leave for the generations to come.
Mosques and qabristans demonstrate the necessity to recognize the past and preserve this history.
This masjid is regarded as the oldest masjid in South Africa, and whilst we are proud of that fact, we are forever mindful of forefathers, of our four local forefathers who had perhaps achieved a much greater achievement in that they came here to establish Islam under the most trying conditions, being slaves and being political prisoners. And because of their effort, this mosque was built. The mosque is, firstly, it is a place of worship where the community comes together, where solid relationships are cemented. And then it should also become a nerve center for all matters relating to the Muslims of Utrecht. I think the upkeep and the preservation of this mosque must be done by the community itself, the murids of this masjid, because they have an affinity to the masjid.
The mosque in Uitenhage took a long time to complete, and while it has been renovated many times over the years, it stands as testament to the spirit and soul of those early pioneers.
So we owe to our forefathers that this legacy must be kept alive, and therefore we need to collect whatever documents we can collect so that it can be there for the next generations to see and to be proud of the fact that this is their masjid.
With little money coming from government, the options are limited, but there is still much to be done, and the hard work of the Eastern Cape Malay Society has a long road ahead. New blood and funding is needed to preserve this proud history. After all, a community is defined by where it comes from, and this, in turn, sets the course for where it is headed. Ramadan is almost upon us, and every time I hear the renditions in our Tafsir segment, it reminds me of my favorite time of year. Let's hear Qari David's rendition from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد أقسم بهذا البلد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد وأنت حل بهذا البلد ووالد وما ولد لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد صدق الله العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you. The beautiful rendition are from a chapter known as the chapter of the city. The first 4 verses addresses something extremely important. Verses 1, 2 and 3 are oaths taken by the Creator to draw attention to an important statement to follow. And that important statement is what is found in verse 4. It speaks of an attitude of life, how one perceives one's existence here on the planet, one's period of life here on earth. La, no to all their theories and their perceptions. Uqsimu bihadha al-balad, I take an oath by this city, the city of Mecca. Wa anta hillum bihadha al-balad, and you are safe and free in the city. Then Allah takes an oath by every parent and every child. وَوَالِدِ وَمَا وَلَدْ, by every parent and by every child. It's a unique oath, unlike any other. It's His word in totality, and there's no need for Him to take oaths, but He does so to draw our attention to important statements. And in this particular spot here, this particular place here, He takes an oath by every parent and every child, and then says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ, verily, we have created man in a state of toil, a state of effort, a state where work is required to achieve things. Nothing is going to be given to us on a silver platter. There is nothing for man but what he and she makes effort for. وَأَلَّيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. We are not lazy individuals. We do not expect things to happen for us. Rather, we make do with what we have, and we try our best to achieve our goals. At the end of the day, outcomes are by Him. We have no guarantee regarding outcomes, but we have power and strength to do what we can in the time that we are afforded. And if this is my attitude, I will take nothing for granted. Rather, I will make each and every day count. I hope that's a good reminder for the week ahead. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I was fortunate enough to spend some time in Lamise's kitchen, and this next dish she made blew my socks off.
Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm going to be sharing a Middle Eastern recipe with you, and I'm saying Middle Eastern because everybody claims that it belongs to them. But I'll be sharing my favorite version, that's the Moroccan shakshuka. And what you need are the following ingredients. I've got about 6 eggs, but depending on the size of your pan, it could take 6 to 8 eggs. The spicing that we need for this is 1 teaspoon of roasted masala. I've got 2 bird's eye chilies. I've got 1 teaspoon of chili powder because I like it hot. I've got a whole teaspoon of cumin seeds, and then I've got a teaspoon of fine cumin as well. Some chives for garnish at the end. Salt to taste, a little bit of sugar, just take the edge off the tomatoes. And then I've got some passata or tomato puree. And then I've got an onion. This is about a medium-sized onion, finely chopped, that we're going to start off by caramelizing. First thing we're going to do is heat up some oil in a pan. In goes a little bit of oil. So to my oil, I'm going to add a bird's eye chilies. What you want is for that just to release its oils, and I'm going to roast off my cumin seeds until you can smell it. And already They're releasing all of their flavors. Just let this go for a few seconds. And to this, we're going to add our onions. These are finely chopped onions. So what we're going to do to get our onions to roast off nice and quickly is just add a pinch of salt. And this helps the onions to release its juices. And they just caramelize that much faster. So now that my onions are nice and caramelized, I'm going to add my tomato or passata mix. And this is really the basis of shakshuka, is this thick tomato base. That's just yummy. Okay, I'm gonna give this a light stir. And if you see it's thickening up too quickly, just add a dash of water, because that way we can cook the sauce enough to get the intensity without losing the bulk. And time for our spices. And you want to give this enough time to cook so that your spices infuse. So in goes my chili powder, my fine cumin, and then a little bit of masala. So this is just roasted masala. Use the masala of your choice. It also goes really well with some nice sweet paprika. So now we want all of this to cook, and it's starting to smell like Morocco. And just to take the edge off the tomato, I like to add about a pinch of sugar. Just a little bit of water. So what I'm going to do now is turn the heat down and then create little pockets, which is where we're going to be cracking our eggs. Create a little hole and an egg. So depending on how you like your eggs, that's how long you would cook this. If you like a runny yolk, I would say 3 minutes is sufficient. If you like a firmer egg, just cook it a little longer. But what's nice about this is there's nothing wrong with just opening the lid to pop and check what's going on. And in goes our last egg. Okay, what I like to do at this point is just a little bit of salt on each egg. Not much, because remember, you've seasoned your sauce. And all you do now is pop on the lid and wait until the eggs are done just right. So now that this has been cooking for about 4 minutes, because I like my eggs medium, all that this needs is a sprinkling of chives, and I like to keep my chives whole just to add some color. And now all that we need is some toasted pita bread, shawarma, just a spoon. So until next time, assalamu alaikum.
I cannot tell you enough how much fun we had making and eating the shakshuka. It definitely will be a regular on my list of what to make for breakfast. It is, however, time for us to say goodbye. Shukran for tuning in, and assalamu alaikum from me, Zahra Robinson.